Scattered across the jungles and fields of Costa Rica are hundreds of nearly perfect stone spheres. Some are small enough to hold in your hands. Others weigh over 15 tons and are almost 7 feet in diameter. The most unbelievable part? They're carved with extreme symmetry, many so perfectly round that modern engineers are still trying to figure out how ancient people could have achieved it, especially without metal tools. Discovered in the 1930s during a banana plantation clearing, the spheres were buried under centuries of soil, sitting there quietly as if waiting to be found, and no one knows exactly who made them. They're linked to the Dikis culture, but the real method of their creation is a mystery. The rock used, mostly granodiorite, had to be sourced and moved from miles away, then shaped, smoothed, and polished. With what, and for what? Some believe the spheres were used for astronomical alignment or religious rituals. But others point out the eerie similarity to planetary models. Spheres, aligned in patterns. Could they be markers, maps, signals to someone or something watching from above? They've been compared to the Death Star from Star Wars, but these are real. Heavy, silent, ancient, sitting in the middle of a rainforest. Was this geometry a coincidence, or were the builders working with knowledge, or tools, far ahead of their time? High in the hills of Asuka, Japan, stands a massive stone structure that has left experts baffled for decades. It's called the Masuda no Iwafun, which loosely translates to Rock Ship of Masuda, and it really does look like a giant ship carved entirely from a single block of granite. Weighing over 800 tons, the structure measures around 36 feet long, 26 feet wide, and 15 feet high. That's not just large, that's enormous. And here's the twist. It's not a ruin, it was never finished, yet it shows signs of precise, intentional carving that seems far beyond the capabilities of the time. No tools have ever been found at the site. No inscriptions, no evidence of what this was meant to be, just that rock standing there, silent and massive. Its flat top has 2 square holes carved deep into it, and no one knows why. There are no tombs nearby, no shrines, no temples, just this lonely, perfectly carved monolith, sitting on a slope like it was dropped from the sky. Some researchers think it was meant to be part of a tomb complex. Others say it might have had an astronomical purpose, but none of that really explains the size, the precision, or the fact that it was seemingly abandoned halfway through for no reason at all. Now here's where it gets even stranger. The surrounding area is filled with legends of sky beings and ancient visitors. People have long whispered that Asuka was once a place where heavenly ships landed. That would explain why the Masuda rock looks like a vessel. Some theorists believe it's not a tomb or a calendar, but a docking station, a landing pad for something that came from the stars. The resemblance to a spacecraft isn't subtle. In fact, if this were a prop in an episode of Ancient Aliens, no one would question it. And yet it's real. Standing in Japan, open to visitors, defying explanation, it's one of those places that gives you the feeling that maybe, just maybe, we're missing a chapter of our history books. From polished spheres to sheer mass, we now head to Baalbek, Lebanon. In the ruins of this ancient city lies a construction that breaks every rule of human engineering. The Temple of Jupiter at Baalbek was built using some of the largest stones ever carved by man, or maybe by something else. Some blocks weigh over 1,200 tons. That's nearly twice the weight of the Statue of Liberty. And yet, they were precisely placed on top of one another, forming the foundation of a temple complex. To this day, we don't have machines powerful enough to lift those stones the way they were arranged, let alone drag them uphill from a quarry half a mile away. There are no cranes, no vehicles, no clear explanation. Ancient texts don't help. The people who built this left behind little to no documentation. That's led to theories, lots of them. Some say it was the work of a lost civilization that had access to advanced lifting tech. Others suggest help from something not of this earth. The block sits so perfectly, so seamlessly, that even with modern laser cutting we'd struggle to replicate it on this scale. And here's the twist. The Romans later built a temple on top of this platform. That means even they didn't know how the base was made. They just found it and built over it. Like kids stacking blocks on an already finished toy. How did these stones get there? Who moved them? And what kind of power would it take to make that happen? The deeper you look, the stranger it gets. High atop Mount Nemrut in southeastern Turkey, at an elevation of over 7,000 feet, an ancient riddle sits in silence. Enormous stone heads, some as tall as 10 feet, lie scattered across a man-made terrace. They once crowned massive statues that portrayed gods, eagles, lions, and even a self-portrait of the king who ordered them, Antiochus Thirst. But what truly captures attention isn't just their size. It's the haunting feeling that these heads are far older, far more mysterious than history dares to admit. Nobody knows exactly how these colossal figures were transported up such steep terrain with the limited tools of the 1st century BC. No wheeled vehicles, no advanced pulleys, no cranes, just manpower, supposedly. Yet the precision and scale suggest something more. These heads weren't just built to impress mortals. They seem positioned for a cosmic audience, gazing skyward as if awaiting someone or something from the stars. Some theorists propose that Mount Nemrut was more than a royal tomb. They believe it was a beacon, a kind of cosmic marker, signaling to higher beings that Earthlings still remembered them. With its astronomical alignments and isolated location, it feels eerily like a landing site, a monumental greeting to travelers from beyond. Modern archaeologists explain the heads as simple political propaganda, maybe. But if that's true, why do they seem almost too grand, too massive, even for a king's ego? Standing before them, you can't help but wonder if these stone giants were meant to watch the skies for something bigger than human ambition. Beneath the sands of Egypt, deep inside the tunnels of Saqqara, researchers uncovered a series of enormous stone sarcophagi. So massive that even today moving them would be a serious engineering challenge. Each granite box weighs between 60 and 80 tons. Their walls are carved with incredible precision, with edges so smooth you could almost mistake them for machine-cut surfaces. These boxes, located in the Serapeum, were believed to have been built for sacred bulls. But the deeper experts dig into the mystery, the less that explanation seems to fit. The dimensions of the sarcophagi are what really stir the imagination. They look like they were made for beings much larger than ordinary humans. Some researchers believe they weren't meant for animals at all, but for giant rulers, maybe even visitors from beyond. The lids alone weigh more than most modern cars, so who had the strength and knowledge to carve, transport, and lower them into place underground with such perfection? Adding fuel to the fire, images have circulated of a different discovery, a mysterious golden sarcophagus, recently unearthed, containing what appears to be a non-human figure. While the authenticity of that particular find remains debated, it matches the ancient whispers, beings from the stars, preserved in forgotten tombs, waiting to be rediscovered. Official explanations tie the sarcophagi to religious practices, but there's an undeniable sense that something is missing, something too big, too advanced, and too carefully hidden in plain sight. Were these giant boxes really made for bulls, or are they the last remnants of a time when Earth's true rulers were much more than human? And if they were, where did they go? In the heart of ancient Mesopotamia, the land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, rises a structure that looks almost too purposeful to be random. Ziggurats, massive step pyramids built thousands of years ago, with foundations so solid they've survived the crush of time and conquest. The Great Ziggurat of Ur is the most famous, its layered tiers stretching toward the heavens. But what makes these structures truly fascinating isn't just their size or age, it's who they were built for. Ancient Sumerian texts talk about the Anunnaki, powerful beings who descended from the sky and ruled Earth. These weren't simple gods in robes and sandals, they were described as advanced, almost otherworldly figures. And the ziggurats? Some researchers believe they weren't just temples, they were literal landing platforms. Beacons for these sky beings to touch down safely on Earth. The construction techniques themselves are suspiciously sophisticated. The orientation, the materials, even the drainage systems hint at knowledge far beyond what should have been available at the time. Ziggurats were built with such precision that their outlines are still visible from the sky today, like a message left behind for someone far above to see. Mainstream archaeology says these structures were places of worship. But why the obsession with reaching higher? Why the repeated references to gods who came from above? Watching old shows like Stargate SG-1, where ancient temples hide alien technology, suddenly doesn't seem so far-fetched. Maybe the Sumerians weren't just building to honor the heavens. Maybe they were building for beings who once traveled across them, and maybe, just maybe, they're waiting for a return. Just outside modern-day St. Louis, across the Mississippi River, lies a place that barely shows up in history books, but maybe it should. Cahokia was once the largest city north of Mexico, a thriving civilization with grand plazas, astronomical alignments, and giant earthen mounds that still baffle archaeologists. The biggest of them, Monk's Mound, covers 14 acres and rises nearly 100 feet high. Moving that much soil with simple hand tools and baskets sounds almost impossible, yet it happened. Or at least that's what we're told. Some local legends whisper that the mounds weren't just ceremonial, they were built by, or for, giant beings. Skeletons measuring over 7 feet have allegedly been unearthed near Cahokia and throughout the Midwest, though official reports quickly dismissed them as myths or mistakes. Still, the sheer scale of the city and its mysterious collapse around 1400 AD keeps questions alive. Were these mounds meant to honor the skies or to mark the graves of beings much larger and stronger than we know today? Standing atop Monk's Mound today, the view stretches for miles. And you can't help but feel you're standing on something older and stranger than anyone ever admits. The feeling that maybe the land still remembers who really built it. At the bottom of the world, buried under endless ice and snow, a series of pyramid-shaped structures has set the internet and scientific communities buzzing. Satellite images show distinct triangular peaks poking out of Antarctica's icy blanket, with some sides and angles almost too perfect to be natural. The most famous, located near the Ellsworth Mountains, looks so much like a classic pyramid that some have called it the Second Giza. Scientists officially say these are nunataks, rocky peaks poking through glaciers, shaped by millennia of wind and ice. But not everyone buys that simple explanation. The clean lines, the symmetrical faces, the way they seem to form geometric patterns, it feels less like erosion and more like construction. By whom? That's the real question. Some theories suggest remnants of a lost civilization, frozen in time before Antarctica turned to ice. Others go even deeper, proposing that ancient visitors from space used the frozen continent as a base, a hidden staging ground for activities far beyond human understanding. After all, Antarctica remains one of the least explored regions on Earth. If ancient explorers once built pyramids in Giza, Teotihuacan, and elsewhere, could it really be that impossible that an even older, more advanced group left their mark here too, waiting quietly under the ice for someone to notice? Off the coast of Italy, on the island of Sardinia, something incredible lay hidden for centuries. In the 1970s, farmers plowing their fields stumbled upon fragments of enormous stone statues. When archaeologists pieced them together, they revealed towering figures, warriors, archers, and boxers, each more than 7 feet tall. These became known as the Giants of Mons Prama. The statues date back nearly 3,000 years, but even today, they raise more questions than answers. Their proportions are unusual: broad shoulders, oversized eyes, and powerful, imposing builds. They don't quite match any known artistic style of the Mediterranean world. Some researchers suggest they depict real beings, not ordinary humans, but giants who may have once roamed Sardinia and left their mark on its culture. Adding to the mystery, scattered reports and leaked images over the years hint at the discovery of massive skeletal remains in remote parts of the world, sometimes resembling beings far larger than modern humans. While official explanations are often vague, the similarities are hard to ignore. Now, when we look at the Mons Prama giants, it's not just their size that stands out, it's the feeling they were carved to preserve the memory of something real, something extraordinary. Were these figures guardians, visitors from a forgotten era, or perhaps even echoes of beings whose origins lie far beyond what we understand today? High on the windswept Altiplano of Bolivia, near the ruins of Tiwanaku, stands the Gate of the Sun, a massive stone arch carved from a single block of andesite. It's around 9 feet tall and 13 feet wide, decorated with mysterious engravings that include a central figure often called the Weeping God, and dozens of strange winged creatures. Archaeologists date the site to around 1500 years ago, but the precision and symbolism carved into the stone suggests something even older, and much harder to explain. The gate appears to have no real practical purpose. It doesn't lead anywhere. It's just there, standing alone like a forgotten doorway between worlds. Some researchers believe it was meant to be part of a larger complex, while others propose something much more thrilling, that it functioned as a kind of stargate, a portal used by ancient beings to travel between realms. The precision of the carvings, the cosmic symbols, and the legends of Tiwanaku all point towards something more advanced than simple tribal worship. There are even theories connecting the Gate of the Sun to lost civilizations like Atlantis, or to beings from distant stars. Local myths say Tiwanaku was built by giants in a single night. Maybe the gate wasn't meant for human passage at all, but for travelers not entirely of this earth. In an ancient quarry near Aswan, Egypt, lies a monument that could have changed history, if only it had been completed. The unfinished obelisk, still attached to the bedrock, stretches over 137 feet long and would have weighed nearly 1,200 tons. That's heavier than a fully loaded Boeing 747. Ancient builders had started carving it directly out of the granite, but cracks appeared, and the project was mysteriously abandoned. The questions pile up fast. How did they plan to lift such a colossal stone? How would they have transported it miles away to be erected upright? Even today, with modern cranes, it would be nearly impossible. The tools believed to have existed at the time, simple copper chisels and dolerite hammers, don't seem capable of producing the smooth surfaces and sharp cuts visible at the site. Some theories suggest the use of lost technologies, perhaps sound-based lifting techniques or unknown forms of energy. Others whisper that ancient Egypt had help from civilizations far older and more advanced than what is officially recognized. Standing beside the unfinished obelisk today feels like peering into a window where something extraordinary once happened, and then, for reasons unknown, stopped forever. Beneath the rolling landscapes of Cappadocia, Turkey, lies a hidden world, vast underground cities carved deep into volcanic rock. The most famous, Derinkuyu, stretches 18 stories underground and could house up to 20,000 people, along with livestock, food, and water supplies. Narrow corridors, heavy stone doors, air shafts. It's not a primitive hideout. It's a masterpiece of subterranean engineering. What could have driven people to live so far beneath the surface? Conventional explanations suggest they were hiding from invading armies, but the complexity and scale hint at a much greater threat. The tunnels are built to withstand far more than a simple siege. Thick stone doors could only be rolled into place from the inside, and labyrinthine designs seem intended to confuse and slow down intruders, or something even more dangerous. Some researchers propose a chilling idea. These cities weren't just protecting people from human enemies, they were shielding them from something much larger, much more powerful. The legends of sky beings, natural disasters, and wars between gods often surface in Cappadocian folklore. When walking the endless twisting tunnels, the walls seem to whisper a simple but chilling question. What were they so desperate to escape from? And could it come back? Along the rugged coast of Northern Ireland lies one of the strangest landscapes on Earth, the Giant's Causeway. Thousands of interlocking basalt columns, mostly hexagonal, stretch into the sea like the broken remnants of an ancient road. Officially, this marvel was created around 50 million years ago by volcanic activity, but when you stand there looking at the perfect geometric shapes stretching across the shore, the volcanic story feels almost too neat. Some columns are over 40 feet tall, and the precision of their formation seems almost intentional. Local legends tell a different story, that the causeway was built by a giant named Fionn McCumhale, who needed a path to Scotland to face a rival. While the tale sounds like folklore, it hints at something deeper, a collective memory of beings far larger and more powerful than we are today. In recent years, some theorists have raised the idea that the Giant's Causeway might not be entirely natural. Could it be evidence of ancient terraforming, shaped either by a forgotten advanced civilization or by forces from beyond? Its sharp lines and regular patterns look like the kind of project meant to be seen from far above, maybe by eyes not entirely human. Standing on the columns, the ocean crashing nearby, you can't shake the feeling. Maybe nature had a little help here. Hidden beneath the small village of Xi'anbeicun in China lies one of the most baffling discoveries of the modern era. In the 1990s, locals drained ponds and uncovered massive man-made caves, 24 of them, carved with perfect symmetry and an attention to detail that modern machinery would struggle to match. No records, no legends, no historical documents even mention their construction. The caves plunge more than 100 feet deep, with flat ceilings, polished walls, and intricate chisel marks that run uniformly throughout. Engineers who have studied the caves estimate that tens of thousands of tons of rock would have had to be removed. Yet there's no debris, no spoil heaps. Where did all the stone go? How was it even possible? The Long U caves don't look like rough shelters or basic storage spaces. They look engineered, designed with purpose. Some theorists suggest these underground structures were built by an unknown civilization, maybe even one that didn't think or work the way humans do. When you realize that these caves would have required coordinated labor, advanced planning, and engineering skills beyond anything known in ancient China, the mind starts to race. Were they hiding something underground? Or were they preparing for something they knew was coming, something that would make survival on the surface impossible? Off the coast of Yonaguni, Japan, divers discovered something in the 1980s that still sparks heated debate. Beneath the waves lies a massive stone structure, terraces, sharp edges, flat walls, and what appears to be a grand staircase leading upward. Some say it's a natural formation, the result of underwater erosion. But when you see the almost perfectly straight lines and right angles, that explanation starts to feel thin. The monument stretches over 165 feet long and 65 feet wide, with towering platforms and pillars that seem far too orderly for nature alone. Some researchers believe it's the ruins of an ancient city that sank long before history even began, maybe 10,000 years ago when sea levels were much lower. Others suggest something even more fantastic, that the site wasn't built by ordinary humans at all. Local legends speak of an ancient kingdom swallowed by the sea, and when you glide past the submerged corridors and stairways, it's easy to believe that maybe, just maybe, someone built it, and that someone wasn't like us. Scattered across Easter Island are nearly 1,000 massive stone figures known as the moai. Some stand over 30 feet tall and weigh more than 80 tons. Carved from volcanic rock and transported miles from their quarry, they stare inland with an eerie, timeless gaze. How these giants were moved has puzzled researchers for decades. The islanders say they walked. That's not a metaphor. It's part of the oral history. The moai were said to move upright, guided by some unknown force. Recent experiments have shown that with ropes and a precise rhythm, small teams can rock a statue side to side and slowly move it forward. But these tests only work on smaller replicas, not on the full-size giants buried halfway in the ground. So the mystery remains. Were the moai simply a feat of human determination, or were they animated by something ancient, something lost? As they stand watch over an empty land, you can't help but feel that they weren't just built to be seen, they were meant to be remembered, or maybe reactivated. That's about it. Which find surprised you the most? Write in the comments. For more useful information, watch other videos.